Om Shanti. Today I was thinking about how many of you, sometimes have you observed that you watch a video about making a new recipe, or sometimes you watch those do it yourself videos where you're cutting some material and making some stuff out of it, or cleaning something very easily and very skillfully. And then how many of you really pick up the scissor and do it? Or go to the kitchen and cook the recipe you saw? Sometimes it is fun watching everything, but when it comes to doing it yourself, we don't do it. Have you seen that? How many recipes have you watched and tasted it while watching, but have never cooked and tried to taste it after cooking? So we do it all the time. And sometimes, Murli becomes like that. So you listen to this idea of Shri Krishna is coming and heaven is coming, and that you are a powerful soul and that you are a child of Baba and Baba is talking to you. And then you never sit with yourself and reflect on this. Yes, so just like if you watch something, if you hear something, there is a happiness in watching, there is a happiness in hearing, but then there is another kind of happiness in doing it and experiencing it. And sometimes we don't go up to that happiness because we don't apply what's being taught. Yes, and I remember there was this little girl and she came to the center once, and I was just telling her that you accept bhog, you eat something before you leave. And then she said, I have something I want to show you. And then I said, okay, you show me. Then a little girl, very little, and she pulled out her iPad, and then she had an app where she could organize, different meals. So she could add 5 different cuisines and then create a meal on that app and just see how it looks on the plate. And then she said, I can have this also, and this combination is so good, and I like this one. And she pulled out something with all the fast food, and she was very happy showing that to me. And she said, every day I eat 3 times like this. So I said, but no, this can't fill your stomach. And you know what? She gave me a hard time convincing that it couldn't fill her stomach, because she was so convinced that this is a good way to eat and that she has so many options, and she was very happy with those options. And then I had to literally make an effort to convince her that no, real food is real food and this is artificial and it cannot fill your stomach. So sometimes, I wonder that these children who are living in the digital age face this problem, but then so do we, because Baba in the Murli is every day telling us about the importance of yoga, the importance of staying connected with Baba. And we listen to that importance every day. But we have to ask ourselves, how much do we do it? So when somebody comes to Brahma Kumaris, they like the idea of Amrit Vela. They like the idea of getting up at 4 and meditating, and it looks very nice and appears very attractive. And then the idea of just a minute, every 1 hour you practice going inwards for a minute. And then the idea of eating in Baba's remembrance is also something that makes sense to everybody, and they like it. And this is what attracts us to Gyan. And when somebody goes to Mount Abu for a few days in the beginning, they really enjoy these practices. So they make an attempt to get up early and relish the morning meditation. But then let us ask ourselves, how many of us make the attempt to incorporate Baba's teachings in our lifestyle, everyday lifestyle? Or does it get limited to only listening to some spiritual stuff every day? Okay, so how many of you really incorporate the practices in your lifestyle? And there are only two practices broadly. One is yoga and other is purity. So Baba says, yogi bano, pavitra bano. So do we really make an effort to incorporate all the different practices of yoga that Baba is teaching us, that is morning meditation and at least just a minute meditation every hour? And do we practice purity of the body, purity of the mind, purity of the food? Because it is pavitra bano, yogi bano. That is Srimad. That is what Baba is telling us. So let's ask ourselves, how much are we genuinely invested in what Baba is teaching us? So this is one thing that I was thinking today. And then Baba is, when Baba talks about yoga, then if you ask me what is the definition of yoga according to the Gyan that Baba has given, so yoga means forget the body, forget the bodily relations, forget the bodily religions. Consider yourself to be a soul and sit in the remembrance of the one you belong to. So what is yoga? You sit still and you take your mind off this world, which is physical. You unplug your attention from everything that is physical around you, the body, the relationships, and then also take your mind off your bodily religions, which kind of define who you are in a religious and social and other context. And then come to the awareness that you're just a soul that is peaceful, loveful, knowledgeful, pure, powerful, blissful. And sit in the awareness of your true qualities. And then connect your mind. When you connect your mind, you just see the image of that supreme being of light, Shiv Baba. And with your mental eye, you just see Baba. And then you feel in this connection that just like Baba is the ocean of all virtues and powers, I, by virtue of being his child, am just like him. And when you sit in this connection that you are the Master Almighty, child of the Almighty, then you're slowly restored to your powerful self. So we have lost our internal power in this journey of birth and death. And the more we sit in the awareness of who I am and in the remembrance of that one I belong to, I'm slowly restored to my spiritual power. So this is something that Baba says you should do very often. And there are two things in the Murli today which actually the Murli is very, it is giving a lot of answers today. But there are two things which I would like to talk about first. One thing that Baba says today is, none of you children have enough yoga to not make mistakes. Okay, Baba says that if you have enough yoga, you will not make mistakes. So when you're yog yukt, you will be yukti yukt. What is yog yukt and yukti yukt? When you are in remembrance of Baba, then you will respond to every situation accurately. And when you are not in connection with Baba, when you're not in a peaceful, knowledgeful, loveful, pure state of mind, then you make mistakes. Yes, now in psychology they say halt, hungry, angry, lonely and tired. And they say when you are hungry, angry, lonely and tired, that is the time you make mistakes. Yes, hungry, angry, lonely and tired. Now just think about, today you genuinely, sit and ask yourself, how do you respond to hunger? What do you do when you're hungry? How do you deal with that situation when you're hungry? Do you make mistakes when you're hungry? Yes. Do you speak what's not necessary? Do you eat what's not good for you? You make mistakes. Do you make mistakes when you're angry? Yes. Do you make mistakes when you're lonely? How do you deal with loneliness? And how do you deal with tiredness? And you see, I'm just talking about 4 situations, but there are many other situations during the day also. But at least let's start with these 4. When you're hungry, can you stay royal? Can you stay in your royal behavior when you're very hungry? And then what about anger, loneliness and tiredness? So Baba says, when you are having these physical conditions, or this is a physical condition, do you understand? It's not even an emotional condition. It's not like somebody's abusing you or slapping you or something of that kind. It's a very physical condition. You're just hungry. The body is wanting food, or you are lonely, there is nobody around you, or you're tired physically. And then how do we deal with this? So you make mistakes. And then what about times when all those 63 births of subconscious accumulation, they get triggered? So when you are in situations and you see something, hear something, or somebody is doing something, and then you see that, you hear that, and all that which is accumulated within you in the last 63 births, it starts to get triggered, and then you start feeling one or the other emotion. It could be fear, it could be neediness, it could be insult, it could be hurt, it could be anything. But then it's not about what's happening outside. It's about what you have accumulated inside. And this gets proven by a very simple example. You are in that situation and you are seeing a scene, and there is another child in that situation. And they are also seeing the same scene, but it doesn't trigger the same emotions in them. Yes? And somebody, when they watch the news, they will get really terrified. And they will be full of fear and speculation about what's going to happen. And then there's somebody who can just sit through the whole news and be very calm. So it's not about what's out there, it's about what's in here accumulated over the last 63 births of Vikarma. And then it gets triggered as you see stuff, hear stuff. And how do you deal with that? Now Baba says that during the day, you will be in numerous situations and in the midst of numerous behaviors where you will tend to get emotional and react. And what is reaction? It is the creation of a new mistake, which will again come back to you. Yes, sometimes you miss somebody and then you want to talk to them so bad. And then when you actually start talking to them, you speak all the wrong things. You complain, you criticize, you tell them how wrong they are in ignoring you or not being with you. And then instead of bridging the relationship, it actually makes the relationship fall apart. So Baba says that you will have many situations which will trigger inside you your sanskar of getting bitter, your sanskar of getting fearful, your sanskar of feeling hurt or insulted, your sanskar of attacking somebody in the pretext of self-defense. Yes, whenever you attack somebody, you say, I'm doing self-defense. Or they are not treating me well, so I have to defend myself. But it's not like that. You don't know how to treat people well. That's the problem. So we do all these kinds of things. And why do we do those things? Because we don't know how to stay calm and respond. And this is why Baba says you need constant yoga. Constant yoga. This constant grounding into who you are. And this constant staying in the power of your virtues is what's very important. And if you always have this one eye turned inwards, if you are always 24 hours of the day, if you are in constant yoga, that is, constant yoga doesn't mean you sit in one corner and keep sitting all day. That's not constant yoga, that's constantly being lazy. Constant yoga means you are active all day. And in doing everything, you are not extroverted, you're introverted. That is, your mind's eye is one piece of your attention is inside, Do you know that any person can do 7 things at one time? So you can operate at 7 levels of awareness. And you have seen with people who drive very regularly, they can be behind the wheel and they can be driving, and simultaneously they can be talking, and they can be also listening to music, and they can also be eating a sandwich. Yes, and they could also be, watching in the rear view mirror. So everything they could be doing at once. So sometimes children ask this question whether we have to work or meditate. No, you can just be in awareness of your virtues and whose child you are and how worthy you are and how powerful you are while doing everything. So this is Karam Yog. You don't have to be either doing karma or yoga. But yes, in order to be capable of Karam Yog, you need some morning meditation. Okay, so that you can be in Karam Yog all day, you have to sit in silence in the morning for some time, and Amrit Vela is a must. So that you have prepared yourself to be capable enough of being in Karam Yoga all day. So Baba says, if you're in constant yoga and if you're constantly in connection with Baba's powers and Baba's virtues, then all through the day you will have many challenges, but you will not make a mistake. And when you have a challenge and you don't make a mistake, then your karmic account gets settled. Then your karmic account gets settled. And when you have a challenge and you make mistake, then your karmic account gets aggravated. It gets multiplied. So now ask yourself, how much of multiplication of karmic accounts are you doing every day? So how much of reaction through, lust, anger, ego, attachment, and greed are you doing? So many people deal with difficult situation through anger. Many think lust is the way. Many think that taking some cigarette or alcohol is the way. And then when you are doing all of this, you are creating an addict out of yourself. Someone who has no spiritual power and someone who depends on substances and the body for gaining control over their mind. And when you depend on something, it starts being a master of you. And then your fear of losing that substance or the body grows eventually. And fear becomes your very prominent sanskar. So Baba is telling us that you have to be in constant yoga. And this is why I started with this session by talking about the importance of yoga, because we listen to this idea of yoga and it is quite attractive most of the time to most of us. But then we have to ask ourselves whether we pay attention to being connected with my spiritual self and connected with Baba. So this is one thing that Baba says, and then there is another thing that Baba says today, which is the happiness of knowledge. So we found the knowledge, Baba is giving us the knowledge. And Baba says there are two things, there is Gyan and there is Agyan. Yes. And when you know something and it makes you more miserable, that is Agyan. And when you know something and it makes you happy and powerful, that's Gyan. Okay, now do you know how to distinguish between Gyan and Agyan? If you know too much and it's making you miserable, that's Agyan. And if you know something and that's making you happy, that's Gyan. Okay, now in the world today, there are many people who are called knowledgeful. Yes, you meet somebody and they are introduced as someone who know a lot. And then you observe them and they are the unhappiest people on earth. Too much knowledge and too much unhappiness. That's too much agyan, not too much gyan. And Baba says, when I give you knowledge and you imbibe it, then the sign of that knowledge is it makes you very happy. Did you become happy when you came to know the knowledge? Yes, knowledge makes you happy. And what is the knowledge? The knowledge is knowing that you are powerful, that you are virtuous, and virtues and powers are enough to deal with anything and everything, anyone and everyone. There is no situation, no behavior which cannot be dealt with virtues and powers. Yes. And in order to stay stable in your virtues and powers, you have to use the knowledge. Okay? Now, let's take one very simple example. Yesterday there was this sister and she told me that when somebody told her something, she got very irked and she felt hurt. So I said, Baba has given us the knowledge that every soul has had a different journey. And everybody's way of talking, the words they use for expressing what they think and how they feel, the choice of behavior that they want to choose in situations is different. So, is it possible that what they said came from a good place? Yes, it came from a good place, but it was not put in the language and in the choice of behavior that you would appreciate. So she said, yes, we can't actually put a finger on what somebody's intention was. So yes, maybe the intention was good. So I said, now if you look at it in that light, that maybe their intention was good and only their sanskar is different from yours. So how they expressed it was different. Can you just let it go? She said, yes, it's easy. It's not that difficult. So you see that if you want to have an attitude which enables you to stay in your virtue of peace and love, you need to use the knowledge that every soul is different and whatever they are doing is because of their sanskar. Yes. And I will give you a very simple example. I had a colleague in my office previously, and she had this sanskar of saying everything very loudly and sharply. So, anything, even if she had to ask for a tea, she would just shout and tell, chai la do. And then that, and everybody used to think that maybe she's angry or something with them, and she's snapping all the time. You feel like she's snapping. But then when I once tried to bring this point to her, and then I tried to tell her that she should she should make an attempt to change the way she talks, what I learned from that conversation is that the way she talks is not a reflection of how she feels on the inside. And I need to learn to separate the two. I don't need to teach her to change the way she talks. I need to learn to see her intention through those words. And when I understood that, I could make many people understand that, and she could get along well with everybody. And then over 5 years, when we stayed in the same place, her way of talking also changed. But then it changed by influence. And anything to change by influence, it takes a lot of time. And you have to have patience. And patience comes with the foundation of acceptance. So, and acceptance is an aspect of Gyan. If you look at whatever Baba is teaching us, right from the knowledge of the soul to the knowledge that we are children of one Baba, to the knowledge that drama is accurate and designed second by second, and it just rotates the way it is designed. If you just imbibe all the points that Baba is giving you, what you become is totally accepting of what is and totally in your power of what to do. And when you become accepting and when you do the needful, then you are able to bring about the change that's required. And the first step to change is acceptance. This is something that we have ignored for so long, but the first step to change is complete acceptance of what is. And Baba says, when you are knowledgeful, you are in your state of happiness. And whenever you are resisting something, your happiness goes away. So when you're knowledgeful, you are in complete acceptance, you are happy about everything. And in that happiness, you do the right thing. And then it sets into motion all the right things that can happen after that. So Baba says, just stay in the happiness of the knowledge that I'm giving you, the happiness of knowing who you are, the happiness of knowing the one you belong to is so powerful, and the happiness of knowing that you're going into the world of called heaven. And just churn this. So Baba says, churn the knowledge that I'm giving you. You think so much about whatever you hear in the world. You think so much about the virus. You think so much about all the bad news that's coming to you. Baba says, think about the good news that I'm giving you every day. And just like the bad news that you are churning on is making you miserable, the good news that I'm giving you will give you happiness and health and everything. So this is something that Baba says. So one thing is, when you are in constant yoga, you don't make mistakes and then you settle your karmic accounts. Another thing is that you must have the happiness of knowledge, and the more you think about what Baba is telling you, you will relish the happiness of knowledge. And then let me read out the blessing for you. The blessing is very beautiful today. Baba says, when a soul reaches the stage of completion and perfection, he maintains equanimity in praise and defamation. So I told you that the way we respond to a situation doesn't depend on the situation. It depends on your internal stage. And the more you practice being connected with Baba, the more you practice staying in knowledgeful stage, you will be in a place within yourself where somebody is praising you or defaming you doesn't matter. Yes, even when they are praising you, you are that same person. Even when they are defaming you, it doesn't matter. Because that's about them, not about you. If they are praising you, it's about them, not about you. They have the capacity to praise, they praise. They have the capacity to defame, they defame. Yes, and I once met one brother and he could praise you for an hour. 1 full hour he could praise you. And I was so stunned by his capacity. I told him, you have this amazing capacity to praise somebody for an hour, but I'm sorry, I don't have that capacity. And I might run short of words when I start praising you back. So you will have to excuse me. But that doesn't mean I don't respect you, and I'm very proud of being in your association. But that's it. I cannot praise like you do. So, there is this capacity to praise that people have and this capacity to defame that people have. And it's got nothing to do with you. And you must just know that that's who they are, not you. Then Baba says, in victory and defeat, happiness and sorrow, they will remain equanimous. And that's when you are grounded within. Even in the midst of sorrow. Now, let's see how Baba asks us to respond to sorrow and defeat and other stuff. Baba says, in the midst of sorrow, instead of having waves of sorrow on your face or forehead, let waves of happiness and joy be visible. Now, how will that happen? So, there is a scene in front of you. There is a word in front of you. And that scene is neutral. How does it give you a feeling of sorrow? By the way you interpret it. Yes? Let's take one example. You want to catch a flight, okay? And then that flight gets rescheduled. These days that's happening a lot. And then you end up being very sorrowful, not because of the rescheduling, but because of how you interpret it. But if you just tell yourself, let me try to get another flight at the same time. And if not, I accept that this is the scene in drama and it must be for something good. So let drama surprise me by letting me know what's in store for me. And if you go with this attitude, then uncertainty is about surprise, not about challenges. Yes? And we have a good relationship with surprises. Just think about this. A challenge is also something that comes as a surprise, but it's your attitude that makes it a challenge and not a surprise. So Baba says, by changing your attitude, you can look at a scene of sorrow with great joy. Then Baba says, even while hearing any defamation, do not feel it to be a defamation, but praiseworthy words to make you mature in your stage of perfection. Yes, if somebody is speaking ill about you, then it is time that you pull out the best in you and deal with it, and that is the way you become mature. Yes? If somebody says you're bad, you have to tell yourself 10 times inside you that I'm good. And that's actually maturing the goodness inside you, and that's a good thing. So Baba says, use these situations to build your resilience, build your power. When you have such equanimity, you will then be said to be equal to the Father. Do not have the slightest attitude of someone being an enemy and coming to insult you, and another one coming to praise you. So do you have this attitude towards someone that they always insult me, and you have an attitude that this one always praises me? Check, you have this attitude towards people. And then how you perceive depends on your attitude. So Baba says, change this attitude that this is my friend and this is my enemy. Everybody is your friend. And even if not your friend, they are drama's friend. So drama is allowing them to do that, and it's for your good. So never doubt it. Yes, nothing is happening without the permission of drama. And the drama is created to take you ahead. So they are drama's instruments, so don't doubt them. Everybody is your friend, and they are just doing their bit to take you ahead. And nobody got stronger by walking on a bed of roses. You only get stronger when you walk on a bed of thorns. So the thorns are good and the roses are also good. So have this attitude that everyone is your friend, nobody is your enemy. The one who praises is your friend, the one who defames is your friend. And if you look back, just take a mental, evaluation of your life, you will feel that those who defamed you did greater good for you than those who praised you. Because there you learned and you persevered and you built resilience and you became who you are today. So that's a good thing. Okay? Shanti.